Rodney, Big Chief Thunderlung. He'll be with us on Wednesdays too. So definitely check Rodney out. If you don't remember, hey, Spiritual Ascensions in the house. Hey, girl, it's nice to see you. And I have, who else do I have here? All Things Beastie, nice to see you. Yeah, welcome everybody. I just had to kind of get out of the way. I couldn't see for a second. Kitty Catty Wax in the house. It's great to see you, Sam. Pretty paranormal. Oh yeah, where Sam's at, I bet we have Wojo. Yep, in the house is Wojo here, and Richie B banter with Richie B. If you have not gone over, they have a amazing channel. Sam's got a great channel or a great show. Definitely check them out and subscribe to them. And Richie B is listed on my channel also with Rob and Maya. So they're definitely great follows. And out, Rodney, I'll get yours on there too. Matthew, it's nice to see you. And then I think I'm pretty sure I got everybody. If I didn't, I missed you. I apologize. I really do. I'm trying so hard to get everybody, but yes, welcome to the show. So without further ado, we've got a great guest who he comes. He's got a great band, or he's in, and he's a great show. And I always when there's people from other shows on, I'm like, I always usually let them, tell more about themselves and me because I don't feel like I can ever do it justice. But I'm gonna try really hard to get his name correct so I don't BMR it. But let's welcome Kevin Estrella on. And did I say that right?
Yes.
No, I didn't. Did I? Estrella. Oh, see, I couldn't even do that to myself. Maya, do you know what it is?
Australia? Yeah,
Estrella.
Australia. Oh, Estrella. See, I got it wrong too.
So close. Yeah. So I apologized to Kevin
okay.
beforehand a bazillion times and told him I probably would BMR that name. So I apologize in advance. But yeah, Kevin, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do, why you do it?
Did you get my bio that I sent you by chance?
I did.
Why don't you read that, because that'll really kind of set things up.
Well, I usually, like I said, I don't have it right in front of me,
You don't
but
have it right
it's in the.
Oh, okay.
No,
Right,
if I get out of the thing, but I usually when somebody has their own show, I guess I should have asked you, but I pulled it off your website is what I did, and it's in the description. So if people could read the description and you just wanted to tell them a little bit about yourself, that would be great, and I can get it, in the process here.
Yeah, I'll give the Cole's Notes version, and then we'll be expanding on everything like that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm Kevin Estrella of the instrumental rock band Pyramids on Mars, and I am also an experiencer. I spent many years studying extraterrestrials to learn more about them and about their presence here on Earth and this planet, and also in our solar system. And I always felt like that was my calling, and that was the reason why I was here, was to assist and help waken people of the ET presence. Little did I know that was actually always part of my pre-birth contracts when a interdimensional craft flew across my backyard August 21st, 2014, which completely changed my life. And then I ended up meeting UFO researcher Grant Cameron, who was already studying the connection between extraterrestrials and musicians. And when he and it was the first synchronicity I ever had, that I was called to go and meet him because he had answers that were going to explain what was happening with me. And my journey has been quite incredible. I've had a lot of ET contact. I work very closely with the Ponti here, as you can see, who are from Zeta Reticuli, planet Pontel. I've been working with them since 2016, and we'll be getting into more detail about who they are, who they are. But I've also had visitations by many other extraterrestrial nations, including Mantis, Umo, Pleiadians, Arcturians, Reptilians, and many, many more. I have a UFO radio show called Pyramids of Mars UFO Radio on the Artist First Network, which I've been doing now for almost 10 years, bringing the stories of experiencers to the world. So buckle up, people. It's going to be an interesting ride. Mm-hmm. And I also suggest keep paper and pen handy, because I'm going to be sending you a couple links that you will want to definitely write down.
Awesome. Awesome. That's excellent. So, yeah, you have a show. What days again and times do you do your show?
My show is the first Tuesday of every month at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But you can listen to any of the podcasts by going to artistfirst.com. That is the website. It's a very, very large network. Many shows are on that network. It's a massive network, and my show has been listened to over 500,000 times. I know that, and as I explained to you, my radio show has actually been pirated by at least 6 or 7 shows throughout Russia and Asia. But go to artistfirst.com. You'll see a little link that says Pyramids on Mars. Click on that, and you can download and listen to any of the podcasts for the last 10 years.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, so you have a pretty good archive. 10 years, that's a lot. That's a long time. So congratulations on all of that.
Well, thank you.
Yes. So what part did you want to go into first? I know you mentioned a lot of different topics. I guess in your story and everything. What would you like to start off with to let the audience know about you?
Sure. I'll kind of like fill in the details starting from the beginning of how it all transpired, and then what happened, and then I'll kind of tell a chronological detail of what's.
Yeah, because you mentioned you're an experiencer, so I am also, and Maya is also. So, a lot of us have experienced it. It's come in at different points in our lives. It all hasn't happened, and I do find many differences between the people as children who experienced them compared to somebody at me who it was 2017. So I'm just kind of curious as to what your relationship is, what your role is, and all of that, because we all have our quote unquote missions or the reasons why we're here and doing what we're doing. So I like to kind of get into a part of that too, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Well, my biggest mission, as has been stated by Tani here, who's my teacher, I'm here to prepare 8 billion souls for official first contact. I've been chosen, as I said, out of a handful of people to be a representative. So it's big shoes that I have to wear. It's terrifying at the same time, and but it's what I signed up for. So.
And you said Jeff Selver. What's your connection with him? And he's been on your show a few. I like him a lot. Yeah. He's been on my show quite a few times, and I've had a chance to talk with him. What's your relationship with him? I know Benno in the audience and some other people they watch Jeff pretty closely. So.
Oh yeah, Jeff's amazing. He's been on my show twice. Because there was just too much information to do in one show.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of his stuff that's happened to him collaborates with. We have a lot of collaborations with regards to our experiences. They're very, very similar and kind of crisscross over top of each other. So,
yes, I had a lot of that with him too. I really connected with him big time.
Yeah, very much. And with the cities he talks about, the ET cities, the hybrids. And all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things that piece together. I really admire him very much, and he works closely with Susie Hansen as well, who I'm close with. So there you go.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's good to know. I just wanted to, before you got into it all, I had to ask you really quick.
Sure. Yeah. So basically to kind of start things backwards. I got interested in extraterrestrials seriously back in university when there was a guy downstairs, and keep in mind this is the year 1992. Nobody had internet. The internet wasn't even invented until 2000, but this guy had internet, and he had downloaded all these schematics and drawings and stuff from stuff that Bob Lazar was working on with these reverse engineered UFOs. And I was like blown away by that. And so I started looking at that. And then I started buying Bud Hopkins books, reading about alien abductions and learning about ETs and stuff like that. And I just was like, diving into this world to understand what's, with aliens visiting Earth and stuff like that. So that's why, I spent a lot of university doing that. And even out of university, when the internet finally it was created and I discovered YouTube, I spent a lot of time watching Richard Hoagland videos talking about, the anomalies on Mars and the anomalies on the moon, alien bases on the moon. And when I have heard these, I heard of these conspiracy theories about alien bases on the moon. At first, I thought I was a real skeptic, and I thought this is like a bunch of BS. Until I started looking at videos on the internet, on YouTube, of pictures on the moon taken from the the satellites, and there's all this airbrushed stuff out, like airbrush this, airbrush that, like things that are blurred out. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, I've seen these before. Where have I seen these? And then it brought me back.
They do the same stuff there. It's crazy. Yeah.
It brought me back to my childhood of my doctor's office. It's going back to 1974, 1975. And in my doctor's office, he had this huge picture book on the moon. So it was like, the astronauts who landed on the moon. So a quarter of the book, the book was really thick. A quarter of the book had all what do you call it? Color photos of the astronauts on the moon and all the stuff that they're doing. But then as you got deeper into the book, it was like pictures of the craters and pictures of the moon from space and stuff like that. And then it was like page after page after page of stuff was like airbrushed things out. It was so obvious. And I was not stupid as a kid. I thought maybe it was like a scratch and sniff book. Like if you scratch the blurred out part, it'll reveal, what it is that they're hiding. But that didn't work. So then I would like hold the page up to the light to see through it and see if I could see what they were blurred out. And it was like 25 years later, I'm seeing the same images, realizing, oh my God, there are alien bases on the moon, and they hit all this stuff. Because back in the 70s, the technology was not very good with with the airbrushing.
Do you think that we've been to the moon like the way that they say? Do you think a rocket goes up there, and do you think that's the way that we get to the planets? Or I'm just curious. So there's a lot of different schools of thought on it.
Well, the Ponti have confirmed that yes, that we were on the moon, and people, the ETs were observing, watching them on the moon, what they were doing. So it's true, it is they are there, but at the same time, there are lots of ancient ruins on the other dark side of the moon, very ancient ruins, and there are bases. In fact, Tilcom, the commander here of the Ponti, he has, he goes to the moon several times for meetings and stuff like that. So I know that much.
Okay.
We'll be getting into the Ponti a little bit later on, but
sure.
To kind of move forward. It was around the year 2000 that I really felt that that my purpose in life was to help awaken people of the ET presence, and I just was like, I'm here, guys. Just like, I want to help. Whatever, I just want to help. And I didn't realize I'd have to wait 14 more years until my activation point. So we fast forward, getting to the year 2014, and then I just put my kids to bed, and then I go out in my backyard. I live in Hamilton, Ontario, in a subdivision, and within 5 to 7 seconds of me stepping onto my deck, there was right behind the tree, my neighbors, to my right appeared behind this tree was this object. So, and the object was about 100 yards away. But it was like hiding behind the tree in line from where I was. And it came into view, and it was a disc. It was this round disc. And it was moving very slowly, like the speed of a helicopter. It was flying over the subdivision. It was orangish red, glowing like coals. And it seemed to have this mist, like smoke, that was kind of coming off the top of it and along the bottom of it, like mist or smoke or something like that. I had no idea what I was looking at. I thought at first it was a meteor that was coming into the atmosphere. That's what I figured it was. But then I realized, no, this thing's like just it's like maybe 100 feet off the ground. It's flying over the subdivision. And I was like freaked out. And the other crazy thing about this thing was that it was two-dimensional. And what I mean by that is that objects, they have height, and width, and they have some kind of
Mm-hmm.
depth to it. This had height and width, but it had no depth. It was flat like a piece of paper. It didn't make any sense. How could something look two-dimensional? It didn't make any sense at all. And I'm looking at this thing going, what the hell is that? And then as it went across the distance of my backyard, and then it turned and started going south towards Binbrook. And then as it turned, all of a sudden the glowingness that it had disappeared. It wasn't there. It didn't have any light at all. In fact, it was just a black object, and it was oblong like a football. That's what it was, like a football. And it seemed to have this spinning vortex in the front of it. So I was completely freaked out. I filed a report with MUFON, and it would be almost a year later when things would start to be revealed to me. So I found out that what I was looking at was the light that was coming from this object. It was covered in plasma. So you can see a plasma stream from one angle, but if the object turns, that plasma stream disappears. And so that's why the plasma stream disappeared when it turned away from me. So it was 2015 when the first alien, it was the first alien conference in Ontario. Could have been also the first alien conference in Canada. It was called the Alien Cosmic Expo in Brantford. And the Hamilton Spectator, the newspaper, took out like a 3 or 4 page article on it, talking about the people who are going to be presenting. And Paul Hellyer, the former defense minister of Canada, was there. Oh geez, who was there? Grant. Well, I can't remember all their names. Anyway, when it said Grant Cameron, and they said, he's a award-winning UFO researcher for 2013, 2014. And
Yeah,
then
Grant's been on the show quite a few times. He's
Okay.
excellent.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's got a brain the size of a planet, honestly. But when it talked about what his presentation was, because at this point I'd already released my first CD, Pyramids on Mars. So my music is instrumental, kind of like Joe Satriani. But I wanted to use my music as a catalyst to raise consciousness of the ET presence. And that's why I chose, the symbol of pyramids on Mars, because there are pyramids on Mars, which I learned from, Richard Hoagland. So I wanted to use that as a symbol to say, hey, folks, it's time to wake up. They're here. They're trying to make their presence, and I want to do that through my music. Well, here it is. Grant Cameron is doing a presentation, and I read it, what his presentation is, and my jaw just dropped. Is Grant Cameron is talking about extraterrestrials and musicians, and how musicians are being contacted by extraterrestrials to raise the ET consciousness. And I went, oh my God, this is about me. Like, this is nuts. Like, I was already doing this, and now all of a sudden it's like there's lots that's happening to a lot of musicians. I was freaked out. I didn't even know this was a concept of these things were happening. So that was the first surreal synchronicity of my life, and I felt like I was like, all of a sudden my life felt like a movie, and I knew that I was being called to go see Grant. That there's something bigger going on, much bigger than me. After my UFO sighting, and now all of a sudden this, and the connection with music. So I had to go and see him. So when I get there to the Alien Cosmic Expo, I managed to catch him just before he went on. And I handed him my CD, and he looked at it, looked up at me, and says, "We got to talk." And I said, "Yeah, we do." And then he was doing his presentation talking about how many musicians have been contacted by extraterrestrials, and the list just goes on and on and on. I mean, we're talking about David Bowie, Ace Frehley from Kiss, Sammy Hagar, Al Jorgensen from Ministry, all the members of Yes, the Moody Blues, David Bowie. The list goes on and on about people who've been contacted by extraterrestrials. Jimi Hendrix, it's just nuts. And then Grant starts talking about consciousness and the creative, the what's going on with creativity, and how many musicians just get musical downloads where the song just comes in dreams and stuff like that. Or
I've heard about that. I've heard musicians even share, like, a lot of times there's copyright issues because there's something like I don't know. It was kind of explained by Boundless Authenticity podcast. He kind of got into it, and he was a musician, and he said that a lot of times, I guess that's why, he was explaining it. It was interesting. It was interesting.
Yeah. What's interesting is like it's like a field that musicians get into, and sometimes they get songs that they didn't even write. They just came literally in a dream.
I've heard
And
that.
I actually had that experience where one song that I wrote that was on my second album, Echo Cosmic, I actually didn't write it. It came literally in a dream. And that story, like Grant Cameron released a book called Tuned in: The Paranormal World of Music. And my story is in that book. And it's got pictures of me and describing the one song Dream Division that came literally in a dream. So that's there. But what's also interesting is we'll be getting and we talking about the Ponte, but the Ponte explained from their point of view what's happening with music and downloads and the sort like that. And what they explain is that music can be communicated at a telepathic level. And what happens is that when you get into an alpha state, where your brainwaves get into a lower state and then you become more telepathic, that's when you tune in to where you become more one with the music. And then you're actually becoming a co-creator with the collective consciousness, because we're all telepathic, we're all connected. And ETs are telepathic. They understand this concept of that we're all part of the all, and we're all part of God. You want to call it God, creator, source. But in a telepathic world, everybody's connected. So with music, you get into this state, and then you become a co-creator with the universe. And the phrase that Tini uses, they call it the edge of the black. So they say, go to the edge of the black of the universe where nothingness and everything exists. So you're just on the edge of the universe, turn around and face the entire universe, and then listen for the next song to come. And then you'll become a co-creator with the creator, with the collective. So that's the way the ETs explain creativity. And it's not just for music. It can be for anything. It could be for like writing a book, creating a movie script. When these things happen and you get into that creative flow, and that's how ETs actually are able to influence writings in stories that come in, and are actually telling the truth of through science fiction. So we've learned a lot about the truth behind Star Wars and the truth behind Star Trek and many other movies where ETs do have a bit of an influence on the writing process, because you're kind of like in that co-creative, and then they kind of jump in. So it's pretty interesting how it works.
Music is like that universal language too. So, and anyway, it can speak to anything. I think plants, animals, humans, ET.
That's a good point, Maya. Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
It's a universal language, and there's actually tonal language as well. So that's what I was learning, that the Ponte ended up teaching me about tonal language of music, where different species communicate in tonal languages that are actually speaking. So, for example, the whales, they speak a tonal language. They speak a telepathic tonal language. Same with dolphins. So it's quite interesting that tonal language exists, and it can literally speak to you in frequencies. So we'll get into more of that a little bit. It gets pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'm sure Maya's experienced a lot of. Yeah, I'm an experiencer. We definitely have experienced some of that. What's it like for you, Maya? Because sometimes it's like pictures, or sometimes it's more like something you hear. So I'm kind of just wondering.
Yeah, I get pictures. I get sometimes words flashed sometimes. very rarely do I ever hear another voice that is not my own, but usually it's like flashes of pictures and music. I actually use music to communicate during my contact. When I'm outside contacting the orbs and lights in the sky, I use the music. And I think that they really enjoy it because they tend to come out and almost dance in the sky.
You get them really frequently too, especially right now. I did at one time, but mine have kind of decreased off. And yeah, she's got some amazing contact. I've seen videos and pictures and stuff too. So that's really cool. It's always nice to hear like how everybody kind of sees it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So where was I going with this? Yeah. So to kind of finish things off with Grant Cameron, MUFON were there at the alien conference, and Stu Bundy, who took my report, was there. And when I went to go see him, I had drawn pictures of my craft that I had seen, and I just dropped them on the table when he was working on stuff. He turns around, he looks down, sees the pictures, and he looks up at me and goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. We're doing a presentation on you tomorrow." And I was like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, your UFO case was one of the most authentic cases we've ever come across." And then that's when he was asking questions about the plasma stream and what it looked like from this angle and this angle. And they did a whole background check on the day of that sighting to see if there was any anomalies, that could be that I may have seen something else, but they couldn't find anything. And so I was quite blown away by this. They were affirming my story. And then I asked him, I said, "Well, how many other people reported it? There must have been a lot of reports of this UFO in Hamilton." Because it was like, it was only 10:30 at night and it was flying over a really busy subdivision. And he said, "Well, that's the thing. Nobody else reported it." And at that point, I was getting really worried because that didn't make any sense. There should have been like lots of reports. It didn't make any sense whatsoever, and I was getting kind of scared. And so I contacted Grant and I told him, "Look, this is what the guys at MUFON say." And he said, yeah, I saw the presentation. I saw what they were talking about with you. And yeah, we'll get together and we'll talk about it. And so we got together, we had coffee, and then I told him the whole thing about, the seeing the UFO and that, and then, MUFON said nobody else reported it. And then he just said, "Yeah, it happens all the time." And I was kind of like, "Well, what do you mean it happens all the time?" He says, "Yeah, like somebody sees a UFO and others don't. It happens all the time." And he says, it's called the Oz effect. And he says, somehow they are able to shut down everybody else around and have contact with the individual who they're trying to have contact with. He said, "Kev, they're in direct contact with you." And that was a freaky moment of my life. Like I just was flabbergasted that he's telling me that this UFO was having contact directly with me. So what does that mean? What is that all about? And I found out. I started to find out, because that's when my life changed. That's when all these other synchronicities started to take place. I started meeting with lots of other experiencers, and got really close with experiencers like Misha Johnston and Solaris Blue Raven, and many others who also were giving me answers to things that were helping to piece things together. So moving forward, it was around the year 2016. A friend of mine who I met through Misha Johnston, through her experiencer group gatherings, and he lives in Australia, and he says, "Kevin, do you realize there's a group of extraterrestrials using Twitter? It's at Sandia Wisdom." And I'm saying, like, "No way, seriously? ET's using Twitter?" He said, "Yeah, go check them out." And so I did, and I followed for about 2 weeks, just listening, reading all the tweets that were going on. And it was, it said, "I'm Commander Tilcomb of the Ponte. We are here to teach archaeoplanetography and prepare you for official first contact." Now, at this point, there was only 4 of the Ponte who were communicating on Twitter. It was Tilcomb, Commander Tilcomb, Tani down here, and Drudy, and Radar. I have a picture of radar in the back. Oh, by the way, all these portraits are are drawn by the Ponte's telepath Sue Walker, who lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Sue Walker is a professional telepath. She's worked with the CIA, FBI. She's been on TV, doing like she helps unsolved mysteries because she's a psychic and she's a telepath. And so they made contact with her back in 2015, and she does all the tweets for them. So they talk to her telepathically, and then she tweets what they have to say. And at this point now, I think she's done over 70 or 80,000 tweets, since that time. And they also taught her how to draw. And so these are all of Sue's drawings. These are the portraits, and this is what they look like. This is what they look like. That's Thera up there as well. So, and then behind here, we have some more portraits of the Ponte. Now, the other cool thing is that behind here, I've got, my wall is full of chalk markings because the Ponte show up here all the time, and they mark up my walls with chalk. So I got handprints of them all over my condo. It's nuts. It's crazy. So they come here on a regular basis, at least weekly. So, but we'll get into more of that. So, where was I going with this? So, yeah, I met the Ponte, and then I was talking. I learned after listening to them for a while, I started to realize that I believe that they were the real, genuine thing. And so then I started to message the Ponte privately on Twitter, and then I was talking with Tani and Judy, and they didn't they were getting to know me better, and then they said they wanted to introduce me to their telepath Sue, and so eventually a phone call was arranged, and Sue and I got to talk, and then I learned all about the Ponte, who they are.
Oh, just so you know, Kevin, you're frozen.
Am I frozen?
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. I don't know why I'm frozen. Hopefully that'll go. But oh yeah, if I'm frozen or if you can't hear me, just put your hand up, okay?
Okay.
Just so I know, so I can
It's like,
stop.
yeah,
just do
sure.
that. Okay. So getting back to it, I was introduced to Sue, and then she told me about the Ponte and how she met them and stuff like that, and we hit it off immediately from the very beginning, and we've been close friends now for since 2016, and it's been quite an incredible journey. They talk about their culture. They don't talk about technology on Twitter. They don't do that. But they do answer people's questions. So we've learned a lot about their culture, about who they are as people, and they're very much like us. They're not much different. They're not clones. They're not clones. It's not a hive mind. They're all individuals, as individual as we are, and they all have very unique personalities. They all have different likes and different specialties. For example, Judy, she's public relations. So, they reside at an information station under the Sandia Mountains in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So that's where they reside. So has nothing to do with the military in Mexico in Albuquerque. This is a facility 2 miles below the Sandia Mountain, and it's part of an ancient human society, or like people society, that was abandoned about 30,000 years ago. And I think there's I think actually it was a giant race as well, because there's a lot of things that are like very, very large with large steps in this base. So the Ponte have refurbished about 10% of this underground base, and it's one of 4 information stations on the planet. So, that's where they work out of. So talking about Judy, she's public relations. She knows a lot of people who come and go to the mountain, because there's a lot of extraterrestrials that do that. And Commander Tilcom, he manages the facilities there with the Ponte. They've been having massive number of trainees coming from their planet Pontel and learning about our culture, and then going and visiting people's homes. So they've been doing that. It's like a school. They keep coming more and more and more. And so that at nighttime they go and they visit people. So we have, there's so many testimonials of the Twitter followers who have visitations by the Ponte. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of them. So, if you want to make friends and have an ET visit, jump on Twitter and follow Sandia and talk to them. So that's how people, end up making friends with the Ponte, and then the Ponte come and check them out. So that's kind of what happened with me. And it's been going on for the last, since 2017. So,
and how do they initiate contact with you? What does it look like? Or do they come here in the here and now, or?
Well, the first time it happened, it was an interesting experience. Sue called me up one day and said, "You're on the schedule for a visitation. You'll know if you've been visited, if there's something that's out of place in your apartment." And so 2 weeks later passed, and one night I was sleeping, and my apartment is like, it's like one room, about 14-foot ceilings, and my bed is actually above my kitchen. It's like a loft. I actually have a ladder that I crawl up to, and I sleep up in the top part. And it sounded like I could hear something down below in my living room, but when I look down, I don't see anything. But it was I went back to sleep, and then sometime in the early morning, I was awakened to the feeling of liquid draining out of my left ear, like warm liquid. And it shook my head, and it really was annoying. And and then I went back to sleep. I get up the next morning, I go to work, I come back home, and then when I'm walking to my desk, I happen to notice I have this statue of it's a wooden statue of a guitar player, and he was facing the wall. And I was going, what the heck's up with that? Was I drinking last night and I dropped it and put it back on the shelf? No, I wasn't drinking last night. And then I realized, oh my gosh, Sue said if something's out of place, that they came and visited. So I was really excited about this. And then I go on to Twitter and I type, I start texting, and eventually they responded back to my tweet and said, "Yes, we were at your place. Our apologies if we didn't put your statue back in its proper place." And I went, "Oh my God, they visited." And then
So they moved. What did they move? A statue?
Yeah, it's a little statue. It's like a guitar player. It's made of wood,
Mm-hmm.
and it was facing the wall instead of facing forward. It was very odd. But then I was talking to my friend, who was the one who introduced me to the Ponte, and he was saying about, yeah, actually, Jordy was over here a couple days ago, and she was waiting for me to go to sleep because they needed to do a procedure to remove black goo. And I was like, what? And then it started to click. And I'm thinking, wait a second, what procedure? And I thought, wait, what happened? What was that that drained out of my ear? And so I run up to my bed and I check my bed, and there on my pillow, where my ear was this orangish brown stain. It wasn't blood. It was some other substance. So I told him about it, and he said, "Oh yes, thank you for reminding me." They said, yeah, that was they said whatever they do, the last part of the liquid that that's to clear our minds, it'll end up draining out of your ear. So I'm thinking, what the heck did the Ponte do? Obviously,
it real quick, Kevin? Is that are you referencing the Greys as Ponte?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the Ponte. Yeah, them. Yeah.
But what does that mean to you? I guess I'm trying to understand it. Somebody asked, or Spiritual Ascension asked in the audience.
Okay, the Greys, yeah, they hate being called Greys, and you have to realize that there are at least 7 different races of Zeta who are visiting Earth. Okay, at least 7, You can't all group them into one group because it's not. Because there are benevolent groups and then there's some that are malevolent groups. Okay. The Ponti are benevolent and they've been visiting Earth for 135,000 years. So, you know, and they're the good guys, and they're here to help, you know, prepare us for official first contact. So you can't lump
Someone had
all.
a good question in there too. I just wanted to pull it really quick because Daryl Sims says the same thing, and it's fair enough to get both sides of it. Like, why do they only visit at night and they can knock on their door anytime? Like, this is serious. Like, people are saying, why aren't they coming and taking? Why is it in the middle of the night? Why do they have, you know, why are your clothes on backwards? Why are you dropped off a block away? Is it because they're truly intelligent, or they're Daryl Sims says straight out that they're not, and that they have an IQ of 80, and that he believes, you know, so I'd like to get both sides of it. How do you
IQ of
feel?
80? What?
Yeah, like they're putting their shirts on backwards. They should know, but he's saying, and from his perspective, they should know better to put them back around and take them back to where they found them.
Well, I can speak for that, and they will do things so that you'll know that something's off, and you have to look into it. It's like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. That's a sign that you've been visited. You know, for me, they don't put my clothes on backwards. What they do is, this has been going on now for many years. It's happened at least 10 times. I live in Canada, okay, and in the fall time and the winter, I've woken up with mosquito bites. Mosquito bites in the wintertime. Like, WTF? What's going on? And I couldn't figure it out. The Ponti would pick me up and then take me somewhere where we would be having a meeting, and it's somewhere tropical down south. And I'll end up getting bit by a few mosquitoes while I'm down there. And the next morning, that's the only way I know that I've been picked up. So that's been happening much for the last couple of years. But that's not the only thing, you know, in regards to evidence being left around, knowing that I've been picked up and taken somewhere. You know, getting back to the Ponti, you know, as I said, you can't lump all grays together. There's about 7 different, you know, groups, and there's one group that's actually manufactured here on Earth, and they're kind of more like canisters. They're not, you know, they're like biological robots created here on Earth to, you know, to causing harm. And Commander Tilcom, he calls them aliens. He says, we are not the aliens; those are the aliens. So you can't, you know, lump all grays together. And to make this very clear, people, you can't lump all reptilians together as well. Okay? It's a cosmic prejudice. There's a lot of benevolent reptilians. There are thousands more species of reptilians than there are, you know, Earth humans out there in space. So you can't lump them all together. It's unfair to them, and it's just cosmic prejudice. Where was I going with this?
Oh, no, we're not. We're not going to even start cosmic prejudice here. That's funny. No way. That's funny. Do you think that it hurts their feelings, or they are kind of coming taking you in the middle of the night? I don't think that they really get that
Well,
wrapped up into
the
all of
reason
it,
that
do they?
the reason the Ponti come in the middle of the night is because they're nocturnal. They sleep during the day, and they're up at night. So that's who they are. You know, just like animals, there are certain animals that are nocturnal. The Ponti are nocturnal as well. So that's why they do it during the nighttime. And that's why they're awake during the nighttime. So
Okay.
that maybe that explains it. Were there other questions that people had?
Yeah, Blazer
What
had
about
a
insectoids?
question about how you spell the alien race Ponti.
Sure, it's P apostrophe N T I. It's like Nancy, Tom, Ingrid. Oh, and their website, you want to write this down, is officialfirstcontact.com. Officialfirstcontact.com is their website. Now, the other important thing is that Tani here, she has written a book, a manual. It's the Telepathy 101 Primer. to teach people how to develop their telepathy. And it's free. It's a free download off of their website. So if you go to the website and look for the Telepathy 101 primer, download it. It's mostly pictures with with little phrases and stuff like that. It's a very fast read, but it'll tell you and talk to you about your learning style. If you're more visual, if you're more audio, if you're more kinesthetic, and learning your own learning style of communication, because telepathy is communicated in all those ways. So, and then they talk about the parts of the brain that are connected to telepathy with your hippocampus, and learning how to get into an alpha state. So that's where that
Yeah,
that
but your
sleeping state.
hippocampus is like when that's enlarged. I was a mental health therapist for 7 years. When that's enlarged, that's a sign of trauma. So is that what you're saying is happening?
No, the
So what
hippocampus.
area is found like that part of the brain, I guess, for what are
Well,
you
the
talking about in
hippocampus
relation to it?
is connected to telepathy. It's like these nodes in the side of the head and inside your brain, and the Ponte are kind of saying basically turn your headlights on. So it's learning
That's
how to
interesting.
access those parts of your brain to communicate telepathically. So they talk about all that in the primer. So download it. It's available, I think, 17 different languages. It's free. So if you want to have contact, ET contact, practice 30 minutes a day for 100 days. That's the recommendation. It's also great if you can, work with a friend. We used to have some telepathy practice groups, and we used to do exercises. Now, the practice groups, the people in our practice group, they were all over different parts of the world. Some were in Europe, some were in Canada, some were in the United States. And what we would do is each of us would take a turn, and we would have an object that we were holding or looking at, and then we would just, for 3 minutes, we would focus on that object and just focus on it. And then after 3 minutes, everybody would then, within that 3 minutes, people are like trying to telepathically tune into that person and seeing what they're picking up with that object. And then we're drawing pictures and stuff like that, and then afterwards, then we all compare notes and see who how close we get to the object that they're looking at. And you'd be amazed at what how close and what things you end up picking up from these objects when the more and more you practice. So that's a great way of practicing telepathy. You can do that. You can practice with a friend. Sometimes even just like if you practice looking at a picture and then the person then drawing what they're seeing or making notes in regards to what they think they're picking up. It's good. They don't recommend staring at a card or something like that, like the ace of spades or something like that, or numbers. They want something. You want to be working with something that has emotional content to it, because telepathy is communicated on a telepathic emotional wavelength. So that's where it is, and that's why they want people to learn telepathy, because then you'll learn that whoever's communicating is communicating rightly and in multiple ways, so that there's no misunderstanding of trying to come across as like what I'm trying to say, like how humans are so guarded and will lie to your face and be manipulative. Well, in a telepathic society, there is no manipulation, because they'll know who you are and the emotions that come through and the thoughts regarding your true deepest intentions of what you're communicating. So you can't lie in a telepathic communicating society.
That's true. It's all out there. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that. But it is true. Every transmission, I guess you don't have the option to screen any of it, or it is going or being broadcasted out. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, the depth of yourself is a lot more readable, with in a telepathic society. But that's not to say that your life is no longer private, because you learn in a telepathic society on different levels of telepathic communication, so that they, if you some like the Ponte, they can communicate to a lot of people, or they can talk to just one person and nobody else can hear. So you learn blocking, you learn protection around yourself in regards to the different ways of communicating to more people, to a larger group, or just to individuals. And that's a skill that they learn. I interviewed experiencer Karen Holton, who spent 3 years, the equivalent of 3 years, on board a galactic ship, and she was learning telepathy, and that was one of the lessons they taught her, was about screening, so that she kept her own emotions in, so that she wasn't broadcasting everything to everybody at all times. And she found that the hardest thing to do. So that was one of the hardest lessons. So telepathy, there's a lot to it. But to communicate, to talk about like how they can see through you and stuff like that. I had I had a visitation from the Ponte. It was one of the rare times where I was actually consciously awake when they visited, and it was PETA, one of the Ponte. He was a short little guy, and I fell asleep on my couch in my apartment, and in the middle of the night I heard 2 feet land a few feet away from my bed, or from the couch, but I was conscious. My eyes were closed and stuff like that, but I heard them, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually being allowed to be awake while they're here. And he walked over to me, and he like, my eyes were closed, and then he put his arm underneath my neck, and then he put his other hand underneath my legs, and he just gently picked me off the couch. And the first thing I was thinking was, my God, this guy's strong. Like, he picked me up like I was like a baby. Like I don't know how he managed to do that without straining himself. And then also, I didn't realize at the time he had paralyzed me, so I couldn't move. Even I wanted to, and I couldn't open my eyes. I was just conscious. And my arm kind of dislodged from where he was holding me, and I kind of brushed against his arm, and he had on this bodysuit that felt like dolphin skin. It was very cool to the touch. I remember that. And then he puts me down. And then there's a reason why I'm telling this story, because there's the part of telepathy which is going to blow your mind. And so, and then I'm standing there, and he's right in front of me, and I'm looking at him, and he's only like, the height of a 10-year-old child. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. I said, are you radar? And he leans in and he says, it's PETA. And I recognized that it was him. And then this is what he did. Then all of a sudden, he changed. And all of a sudden, now he became a stormtrooper. Like, it was like if he was a green screen. His whole body just turned into a stormtrooper. But it wasn't just a stormtrooper. It was a Halloween costume stormtrooper. The connection there is that was the same costume that my kids wore to Halloween 3 years ago, prior to that. So what he had done was he had gone into my mind telepathically and saw something that caught his attention, because he was trying to throw my attention off, because I wasn't supposed to be awake. He was trying to put me back to bed. And so now all of a sudden he changed himself to look
How old were you then? So you have kids then. And we had a
yeah.
question too before. Do you feel like you have any hybrid children with the Ponte?
No, I don't have any
Or
hybrid
anything?
children. No.
Okay.
No, I know that much. No. But my kids are. This is going back about 9 years ago when this happened. So so here's PETA. He now looks like a stormtrooper. It's a stormtrooper costume that my kids wore 5 years prior to that. And then he changes his face. And now his face is an old friend of mine from high school who I haven't seen for 20 years. But he still had a body of a stormtrooper. It was like he was like a green screen. He was turning the way he looked. It was nuts. And I said, you know what? You look just like, and I was going to say, my friend from high school, Drew Carmichael. And then I opened my eyes and I'm back on the couch. It was like I went from conscious state to lying on the couch, conscious state. It was some kind of missing time there. And then Pete was not there anymore. So it blew my mind. But that's how telepathy works. They can read into you and learn things about you at deeper levels because it's very more transparent.
Did you ever think of any of this like being paranormal at all? Or I guess I know at some road they all cross along the same, but were you describing in the here and now, and then it but it's actually like, is it talking? Is it able to, how did it get there? Maybe to your place, or is it like in the, because a lot of times it's not in our place or our time. It's in their place and their time. So I guess how do they come to you? So you're physically able to see them there with you?
Most of the time, I don't see them.
Okay.
That was a rare time that I was able to. That was probably the only physical time I actually was able to see them. Um, when they show up here, they do it very subtly. They like, I like playing my PlayStation 4, and they enjoy just watching me play the game. And so they'll stand behind my couch and they'll bump the back of the couch, letting me know that they're there. And they do that like every week, pretty much guaranteed every Friday night and Saturday night, they'll drop in for a while and hang out. I
Do they
can't see
communicate? Can you hear them? I'm just, it sounds, how do you differentiate between that and a spirit, like trying to get your attention, or
them.
like, a poltergeist or something trying to get your attention is what
Because
I'm
it's the
wondering.
Ponte. They've been doing this for years. Like this gets like a
Okay.
bump in the back of the couch, a little poke in the back. It's just
Well,
like,
yeah, I just like to ask so it's clarified. That way,
yeah, yeah,
I like to have all ends so people can come to their
yeah.
own
They've been doing this
conclusions.
for like since 2017, dropping in. It's like it's so calm. I just know it now, and it's yeah. One time, like they tapped me on my shoulder as well, so I knew that they were there. But like they get involved with the game, and sometimes they're anticipating something, and they'll see something that I don't, and they'll give me a bump, like you're gonna get killed. Watch out! And then they kind of work with me. It's almost like they're playing the game with me. It's mind blowing. It's so much fun when they just drop in and hang out. I love it.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. What other questions people had? There seems to be a lot of interesting questions that are coming up.
Oh yeah, and there's yeah, people, my chat's notorious. They love we always encourage questions to be asked, so that way, all of that gets cleared up if they need to. What about insectoids? Must be millions, or Rob, was that for you guys?
Well, there probably is. Yeah. Um, we also have to realize we have to broaden the definition of what human is, because people think that we're humans and they're aliens. No, that's not the case. They're human too. They're just not Earth human. So you have to expand on regards to what human is. A humanoid body, is a very um, used body throughout the galaxies. A head, two arms, two legs, ears, two ears. That is a human body. And there are many different types of humans. There are amphibian humans. There are um, reptilian humans. There are canine humans. There are feline humans. There are bovine humans. Um, and there are insect-like humans. So you have to really kind of broaden your definition regarding, what that is. I've had three mantis visits, which are pretty wild. Um, I think I have a deep connection to them, but that's a long story to get into. But when did I? Yeah, there was one time, one of the first mantis visits I had. I was visiting a friend in where is it? Phoenix, Arizona, and I was sleeping in the guest bedroom, and then it was around 5 o'clock in the morning. I end up in this lucid dream state, and there was this woman who was sitting on my lap. But well, she had a body, a human body of a woman, but it was all green, and she had the head of a praying mantis, and she was sitting there on my lap, and it was quite something. It was like, here's this human body with a praying mantis head sitting on my lap, And then I guess she was talking or something like that. And then the next morning, I told my friend about what had happened. And she said, that's funny because I heard early in the morning, I heard two women talking in your bedroom and they were speaking some strange language. I didn't know what was going on. So that was an interesting affirmation I got there. The other cool thing is that a friend of mine, who's also a friend of my friend's, his name's Darrell Stokes, and he has this amazing ability of being able to photograph the unseen world. So he photographs orbs, he photographs fairies, Sasquatch, all kinds of stuff. But anyway, he happened to have been over at her place a couple years after my incident, and he said he captured the photograph of a green praying mantis in her backyard, like a ET. And so that affirmed what I experienced because they came and I had one that visited me. So that was pretty neat. I also had one here in my condo a couple of years ago. That was interesting. So I was sleeping, but then I woke up and I went trying to get back to sleep, and then I fall into this alpha theta state. So it's a state that it's in between awake and asleep. So you're not awake, but you're not dreaming. It's in between. And then I felt this something lying on my right hand side. It felt very solid. It was like an exoskeleton. And however they were, it was kind of pinching my leg and was making it uncomfortable. And then I heard telepathically, it started to speak in my left ear, just my left ear telepathically. And at first it was like this kind of like weird insect sound, this, and then it was followed by clicks. And I realized
you heard the clicking. What was clicking?
It was a mantis. It was a mantis who came and visited me.
What did the click sound like?
Like that.
Oh, boy. I had something outside my window that was clicking, but yeah, now you just said that. That just like, I was like, what do you, do they, that's interesting. Like somebody taking their tongue on the roof of their mouth and clicking.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that. That's exactly what it sounded like. And weird. I have an experiencer friend. Her name's Jacqueline Smith. She's very connected to the mantis. She does presentations on them all the time, and she's made a lot of music, like videos and stuff like that, where she's doing clicks, where she speaks light language, and then sometimes when she's doing light language, she'll start speaking like a mantis, and then she's doing the clicking sound. So
that's really weird you said that because it's been outside. Is there anything else that comes along with the clicking, or like a smell, or like what are they doing when they're clicking like that?
That's part of their language. I guess it's part of their language. Yeah, I don't understand it, but I experienced it. I heard it.
Mm-hmm. No, I've heard something very similar. That's why I stopped and I'm trying to figure it out if it's like a cryptid or what's going on, because I've heard that that with the clicking, you have to be careful because a lot of negative things can come from things that click like that. So you just caught me off guard because I've been talking about this for quite some time. It started happening here around, let's see, it would have been right around Halloween that the clicking started, and weird things were dressers dumped over and just really weird, bizarre things started happening. So that's why I had to ask.
All right. Yeah, no, I've never had any, negative experiences like that. No. I mean, I've had a few negative experiences, but they were something completely different. They weren't ET. They were other things. So.
Okay. Yeah. I've just, like I said, you just caught me. Maya, have you ever heard me talk about the clicking?
I have.
Yeah, so he like legit caught me off. I was like, well, what about the clicking?
Yeah. No, not the clicking. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So I was like, oh man. So I apologize for interrupting you, Kevin. It like almost stopped my heart. I was like, when I heard the clicking noise. Rob even knows the dreaded clicking, you'll say. I'm like, he's heard me talk about it, I don't know how many times too. So yeah, okay. Sorry about that.
Well, it's not always bad. As I said, like Jacqueline Smith, who communicates with the mantis, and she's very close with them. The mantis they make clicking sounds. And the mantis are very benevolent beings. They're one of the most amazing beings in the universe. Actually, they use frequency, they use light to heal, and they also have a wicked sense of humor. So they're quite, they're very high up in frequency and also in dimensions. Like they're way high in dimensions. So
I have actually heard that about the mantis beings, that they are very benevolent beings, and they come here to help teach humanity
yeah,
a higher way of learning and being. So, and when I
they're
see the actual praying mantises in my garden, I always thank them, and it always makes me feel happy to see them. So,
yeah,
They're scaring me to death. I can't do it. Ah, yeah, one was on my brother's head, and I'm like, I took all I had, not to like, and I probably even shouldn't say this, but they are alarming when you first come across them. I mean, oh yeah, good for you, Mike. I'm glad you were able to. I would have gone for a shoe or something out of fear, but I don't
oh
know.
no, they take care of
oh
all the little
Ah,
nasty bad bugs. So you want them in your garden because they eat all the little ones that eat all your vegetables. So.
yeah. Huh. Were there other questions that folks had?
we had. Let's see. Here's another one. Can you have telepathic abilities after an NDE, which is a near-death experience?
Um, yeah, I know a lot of people who had NDEs, and that's after that is when their abilities started to happen. So I know a lot of folks who've experienced that, and it opens up a lot of abilities for people after they've had near-death experience. Um, yeah, it changes your life and realizing that you're not this physical body, that you are consciousness, you are a infinite soul. So um, you know I learned that myself about 3 or 4 years ago when I started to astral travel. And at first I didn't know what was going on, and then eventually when I had a major astral travel ability or thing happen, that's when I started to research and find out what the heck was going on. So um, another thing I should back up and say, when I first started meeting with the Ponte, when they first introduced themselves back in 2016-17, it was around 2017 that they started to give me a lot of downloads. So they were downloading me with information, and it was always the same kind of physical experience that I was experiencing, and then Sue explained to me that what they were doing was they were downloading me with information. So I would wake up in the morning and I'd feel a little bit tired or groggy, but then I go to work, and then but by about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, my brain feels like soggy cotton, and I can't stay awake. I can't even stay awake at all. I'm just falling asleep at my desk, and then I go home, and then I go into what I call a reboot nap. It's this like instant drop in consciousness and in sleeping in a deep state. So this was going on for quite a long period of time, for about 6 months, where I was getting lots of downloads. And I think that one of those downloads was teaching me about how to astral travel, because one day I just was doing it, and then I started developing the skills how to do it better and better and easier and easier. And it's kind of like, the more and more you ride a bike, the more and more you develop your skills on how to do that. And I figured that I would be a good candidate to how to do it naturally.
Yeah, how a lot of people do. How do you travel? I think I do a little bit different than most people do. But what are some of your techniques?
Well, first of all, I have to have a good night's rest. So it'll happen, after I wake up in the early morning. So I have to have at least, 3 or 4 hours of deep sleep. And then in the morning, when I'm going back to sleep, I can make the conscious effort to drop into that alpha theta state again, in between, sleep and awake. and then I'm able to basically detach my arms. First of all, they're pretty easy to do, or detach my legs, and then eventually start detaching the rest of my body, and then moving away from my body as fast as I can. So the further you move away from your body, the more and more you stabilize, and then you're good to go. So, but there's different techniques on how to do it. The more and more I was doing things, the more and more I learned how to what to expect with my body. But a lot of it has to do also with the concentration. So like you're putting a lot of pressure in your pineal gland at the same time that you are dropping into that state, and then you'll feel this. Sometimes this happens. You'll feel this electrical buzz. It feels like every atom in your body is like electric, and then you knowing that that's the physical experience of your astral body, your etherical body leaving your physical body. So it's pretty cool.
Definitely. Do you go through where you get like the vibrations come, or is there like a way that do you meditate? Do you,
Yeah,
attach yourself to the chain or the cord, I guess?
I don't have to. Yeah, I don't have to like pull on any cord or anything like that. Um, I've been able to like detach my body pretty naturally once I get into that state. So, yeah, I've also done it through meditation because like I'll listen to meditation tapes, and I'll drop into that alpha theta state, and I'll have me been able to break out of my physical body as well doing that. So there's many different techniques on doing it. I should also mention that the majority of my ET experiences and visitations have been in that alpha state, that alpha theta state. So it's like into that state of mind, and then that's where the visitations will happen, and then sometimes it'll turn into like basically like a lucid dream state, and then I'm interacting as I'm talking to you, as conscious as you can be in these states. So it's a safe place for them to meet with you because um, there's no possibility of us sharing germs, where they may have a something on their body that can affect me or vice versa. Meeting in the astral is a very safe place, and that's why that's like, when you're able to like meet them halfway in their world, that's where life gets interesting.
Definitely, definitely. And so what do you think that, I guess, did they tell you what your or because I know Jeff Silver talks about a major contact event. Is that kind of where you feel it's going to happen, or is it going to happen different, do you think, with in your case, or
Well, the Ponte have been preparing for official first contact for many years. And in fact, actually, official first contact was supposed to happen in the fall of 2021. So I knew about this way back in 2017. So I was waiting in anticipation for the fall of 2021. But or was it 2021 or 2020? One of the years. I think it was 2021. Anyway, but what happened was when we got to that point, Tilcom came onto Twitter and made a large announcement that the Federation had changed plans a bit, and because of the state of what was going on with the Earth at that point, you also have to remember we were in the middle of the COVID pandemic, and they were watching Earth Terrans, that's what they call us, our how they're watching our health in regards to how we're responding to them. Um, they're also worried about the health of our star and the planet Earth, because we are in the middle of an extinction level event. Um, we could have we could have a micronova that could cover the Earth and could potentially destroy everything on the surface. We also have the possibility of when that micronova happens, it'll trigger the Earth to unlock its crust, and there will be a pole shift, and then within a matter of 24 hours, the whole planet Earth is going to tilt on an 180 degrees. or 90 degrees. Sorry, 90 degrees. And then Antarctica is going to be at the equator. The whole planet's going to shift. And you can imagine the displacement of water and tsunamis that would take place if that does happen. Everything on the coastline is gone. So there's a very, huge potential for disaster that can happen. And the Ponte are monitoring this. That's the reason why they're trying to have official first contact, and why disclosure happening now is so important, is because we're going to need their help. This is not the first time that the Star Nations have helped humans during these cataclysms. It's written in the history. Many of the indigenous tribes talk about the ant people, moving them underground and living underground, or ant people relocating people to new locations. It's all part of history. It's happened before, and they know that we're going to need assistance. There's also massive ships which are here in the solar system. Some ships the size of planets. They're all kind of lined up behind Uranus, and they are kind of the equivalent of the Red Cross. So they're here to provide assistance, but just to let people know, there's absolutely no possible way that they can save all 8 billion people on the planet. It's just no possible way. But they're going to try, and they're here to save, some of the population. Some of the population will be relocated. Some of the population will be relocated underground. Some will be, located on ships. Others will be relocated, potentially on other planets. So that's what we know. If
So they will intervene at that point. Is that what you're saying? If one of these events happen, that are they taking is everybody going to be off the planet? We're just going to a different location, or
not everybody? No. A lot of people are not ready for it. People, there's a lot of people who are not at the spiritual conscious level to be able to integrate with the Star Nations. Because we're not going to take our poison and our ways to space. It's just it's not going to happen. So we're seeing a major split going on in the planet right now with regards to consciousness of people, where some people are going absolutely crazy and insane and fear-based, and that's not the way of extraterrestrials. They are spiritual beings, much higher consciousness, beloved, loving, and respectful of other people's cultures, and only maybe 10% of the population of our planet would be ready for integration.
how are they going to decide? Are there different, like everybody coming back for their own? How do they decide ultimately who gets? So there's going to be like a decision making. I was curious if you knew.
I don't know.
And they're saying, Matthew said they're saying that, or are they saying anything on August 12th, the gravity shift, or have you heard anything about that?
No, I haven't. I heard rumors of something like that. I really don't follow that kind of thing. I don't know what that's all about. So I don't know much about that, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought I'd ask. Everybody kind of, has their own area of specialty in it. And Maya, did you see any questions, or do you have any questions that you wanted to ask Kevin?
I think there's going to be a major, some kind of major disclosure that's happening this year. Between this year and 2027, I really believe that there's going to be some kind of major disclosure. Don't know exactly what that's going to be, but the reason I feel that is because I follow Bashar and Daryl Anka, and he's been talking about 2026 to 2027 as the years of contact. But also I know Chris Bledsoe, who is a very famous experiencer, and he so many people are following him. the Vatican, the FBI, the military, everybody, knows Chris Bledsoe and his story. I've been friends with Chris Bledsoe since 2016, and he's talked about stuff that's supposed to be happening now, that was given to him by his visitors, and something about a new age of enlightenment, or something's supposed to happen with Regulus lining up with the Sphinx either at Easter of this year or sometime in the fall. So there's that happening, and it just also over Christmas, the Ponte picked me up at least 4 times, where I woke up in the morning with mosquito bites, and I know that they were pushing me, telling me, Kevin, you need to start doing more interviews and getting people, teaching people about us. And that's why I called you guys, is because the Ponte have been pushing me, saying, you got to get more interviews, things are happening fast. So, and that's why I contacted you guys.
Yeah, that's excellent. And Maya, we had a question. Are there humans out there in space from past events, ET humans?
Yes. Yeah, our planet, I think we are the 5th or 6th generation of Earth humans who have reached a level of technological advancement and have already left. So we have ancestors from Earth on other planets. I mean, I'm from I grew up in the 70s, and my favorite show was Battlestar Galactica, which talked about, finding Earth, because, it was like the colony, it was part of the ancestors' colonies, and how many ancestors of humans are out there in space. Battlestar Galactica is actually more like a documentary. So we have lots of different, Earth levels of human who have left and colonized other places of space. Yeah, we know that.
Wow, that's very fascinating. And then Maya, do you have any questions?
Just one. I was just wondering if the beings, the Ponte, if they are the future humans, like us in the future, if they've told him that about themselves.
No, they're not.
Correct. Okay, different
no,
type.
They're different. They, as I said, like their people have been visiting Earth for 130,000 years. Their planet is the 5th planet orbiting Zeta Reticuli 2, the furthest of the 2 binary system stars. Their planet is slightly larger than Earth, but they have more freshwater lakes than we do oceans.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. And then what's that?
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, go ahead. What I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, of course,
you.
and they have their history too. They've been around for a long time. In fact, the Ponte, they had their official first contact 4 million years ago. So they have been traveling the stars for 4 million years. So you can imagine how far advanced technologically they are, how far advanced spiritually they are than us.
Oh, definitely. That's a good point. And then in closing, why don't you tell people again where they can find you?
Sure, I'm right here.
Yeah. You are right here.
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
Other than if you're not right here, where else could they find you?
Yeah, my website is officialfirstcontact.com. That's where you can find links to my music, Pyramids on Mars, also links to my many radio shows that I've done. I've probably done pretty close to like around 100 radio interviews now. You can find me all over the place. I'm also on Facebook, Kevin Estrella. You can follow me there. And my radio show on artistfirst.com, Pyramids on Mars UFO Radio. Those are the best places to find me.
Awesome. Well, in closing, what would you like to leave the audience with?
Practice your telepathy. That's the biggest message I have. And if you want to learn more about the Ponte, follow them on Twitter. At Sandia Wisdom. Drop them a question. You can also check out the archives on their page, officialfirstcontact.com. You can check out the Twitter archives. You can find different subjects and topics and stuff like that using different keywords to find things that they've talked about their culture or about Earth or all kinds of stuff. So check out those places as well. Download the primer, practice 30 minutes a day for 100 days, because we all need to develop our telepathy. And if you want to have contact, you can have contact. The contact that you have will be at the level of comfort that you are. It may just be, you see, it looks like a star going across the sky, and you might say, blink, blink, and it'll flash its lights at you. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I just had ET contact. So they'll communicate to you at the level that you are ready for, because they have rules. In order to have contact, they cannot break these 3 rules. Cause no fear, do no harm, leave no trace. So if you want to have ET contact, the first thing I recommend is you need to get over your fears. Otherwise, you'll never have ET contact.
Yeah, that's very good advice. That's very good advice. Yeah, and they said, Aussie says she likes your music, so you got a lot of compliments on your music, and that's excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night. Yeah. So Miya, how's everything been going on your end?
Pretty good, except tonight, like I was saying, the kids are going crazy and the animals are going so just some crazy energy. But
I know it's my fault too, guys. Miya, I'm gonna get her the wrench and everything that or the access you need from behind here for next time. But yeah, it's always good. So what is your takeaways from today's show? I love to always get your input on things.
It's a very interesting point of view, and it's his point of view. So mine is a little different, but I don't want to step on anybody else's vision.
Although we like to give everybody's perspective of things, and I'll kind of give mine too. And that's the beauty of all of this. It's like it's never. I think Benno said it best. Like it's subjective. It's there's different things, but it's also a part of it where I think that there's some confusion with where the paranormal ends, or like what, and where maybe some of the ET picks up, or, some of that too. So I always love to bring all points of view out. That way the audience has a chance to ask questions, and, it kind of can feel like that's, what we do here the last 10 minutes anyway. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I don't have any clear cut answers as to how far the ET and the paranormal are from each other. I feel like they're all highly connected. I'm starting to think that some of the things I see in the sky might even be angelic or elemental. I just don't have, the clear cut answers. I'm still figuring that out. So
I don't think anyone does. Do you? Isn't it all kind of when we come together, we're trying, it's like a meeting of the minds, and there's a lot of speculation. It's like you can kind of, okay, these outcomes happen and this is possible, or these things are possible, but it's really hard to say definitively like this is the way or that is the way. That's the way I feel anyway.
Absolutely. And I think that anyone that tries to say that this is the definition and the only way, then there's a problem. When we don't leave room for different perspectives or hearing other sides, and someone believes that their way or their story is the only way, I think that is like a very dangerous place to be. So I do love that, all stories and beliefs are being told here out in the open. So yeah. Anytime people talk about things that are closely related to the grays, I do have an inner flinch. But I try to be open-minded, but there are parts of me that has some a frightening effect. So
yes, and I think James Gillian kind of brought a lot of that forward, because I didn't know. And then in talking to Daryl Sims, a lot of times he's saying, maybe we can't just assume that these are all good. or all bad either. It's like there's a range of them. And most definitely, like, some of the testing I don't like. It doesn't mean that everybody, but I was completely different when I started this journey. I was more on the opposite of, like, this is, thought totally different about it. But then when the kids get involved, I don't like that. I just, like, as a parent, like, so there's some good points, and without being completely sure. And it's like, man, I get why Daryl Sims is saying, like, and somebody in the audience said today, like, why don't they come at normal hours? Why aren't they explaining? Is this more of a path of least resistance that we'll just go along with it? Because, for the negative ones, because there are good ones too. I don't think that it's either one way or another. I don't get that feeling. How about
Well,
you?
yeah, no, I don't get that idea. I don't think there's anything one way or another in life at all. Like, there's good and bad, dark and light to everything, and that goes exceptionally for the idea of ET.
Yeah.
There's both. There's always both. We live in a universe full of the balancing of different aspects. It's always dark and light, good and bad. I think there's a word for that, but I'm losing my words right now. But yeah, it's definitely always one, both sides to everything. So I never, even with angelics, I don't believe that even things that say that they're angelic are always good either. Even though they have the name of angelic, it doesn't necessarily mean they're not evil. So
Yes,
uh,
yes, you're right.
I
And too,
agree.
like, people are saying in the audience, like, they want everybody's perspective, and that's why we sit. And I think that we do a disjustice if we see or hear things that might go against, some of the things. It's either like, hey, I'll either get information that's going to reinforce this, or I'll get information that's going to change my, perception of it, and one thing leads to another. So I think it's really important. I really do.
Yeah.
Nobody should be offended by it. That's the least, offensive thing ever. We should be, and like you said too, when that information is suppressed, or nobody's allowed to say certain things or express their feelings in certain ways, to me, that's far more dangerous than anything else out there right now, in regard to the topic and at hand. Because we're all learning. The people I thought were supposed to have answers didn't.
Yeah.
It's we're all learning together, and this movement is happening together. But yeah, so I just, I appreciate all you do for the show, Maya, and your input, and it's very important. So, and people, they really want to hear it.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm trying.
Yeah, you're
So,
doing wonderful. No, you're doing
yeah,
wonderful. I
and
didn't
we,
mean to put you on the spot. Like, I know how it is.
no
It's
worries.
like,
Yeah. Well, I did get a download today that we're the main perspective to think about for everybody right now is that we're all here for knowledge. So that goes hand in hand with what you just said. So that makes a lot of sense that would come to me today. So
yeah,
because we
that's
are.
interesting. And you're really very intuitive. Like, you caught on the other day, I was having, like, some stuff, and I still did. It's like nose and throat. And
Mhm.
Maya reaches out, and then she's like, take some honey and this. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was so spot on. So I was like, and today I was like more tired, and I was like, Maya, like, you were really right on that too. So that's cool that you're that. And too, and I was like, I didn't even know what to say. It was like, how would you know that? That was very cool. Very, very
Mhm.
cool. And then, yeah, too, there was a good point Matthew brought up in chat. Does paranormal only mean just spirits or spiritual, not cryptids, UFOs? I thought paranormal was all. It is. And, but there's like don't you think there's a different type of paranormal? It's like, I feel like there's usually, like, with more of a poltergeist, or sometimes with a cryptid that's not big. That I think we're dealing with two different things here. I think there's government created labs. I really do.
Yeah.
Bigfoot Michigan Rob would be a better. He's got, or big banter with Richie B and Wojo. Like, they've got a really good handle on that. I've just experienced the paranormal part of it and ET, but there's a difference, and I don't know why there is a difference, but they really are, I guess, when it comes down to it. How do you think, what's your opinion on that, Amaya?
I think it's a huge umbrella with like different sections, and they kind of interconnect somewhere along the lines. And I do think that the government has their hand in everything. I think that they have their hand in crafts that we see. I think they have their hand in cryptids that we do or don't see. Maybe even paranormal stuff. Like maybe they're sending messages to people and they're thinking that it's a download to send to people. I don't know. I do think that the government knows a hell of a lot more than they're admitting to, and playing around with much more than we can ever realize. So, yeah. But yeah, I think that there are different things, but there's a somehow they can, because something paranormal could also be extraterrestrial,
Yes.
interdimensional.
Yes, you're right. You're right. I just wonder how you distinguish between that and something that's like more of a poltergeist activity, because it's like, some of their you know what I'm saying? Because it seems like that's also not like something that's really just pure evil compared to something that just like is more displaced or lost or what, like I don't know how else to explain some of the differences between it, but
I get like an inner feeling. Usually the first thing I think of is what I'm being approached with or surrounded by, because I could be looking at crafts in the sky and also being surrounded by a spirit. I have a picture of one that was like a mass. I don't know if it was one, but it was a spirit being, while I'm also, interacting with these either extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings. So, I think
I've had my spirit box go off and tell me that a UFO was outside, and I went out and sure enough it was.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah. So I think it's just a feeling you've got to get used to, getting used to and trusting more than anything. And don't question yourself. I think that the first thing that comes to your mind, like, is this a human spirit? Is this a elemental? Is this, extraterrestrial? Or I don't even know if they're extraterrestrial anymore, to be honest, but you know what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I agree, Benno, that I've always said that there's always those nuggets of truth with anything or anyone. Like there's always nuggets of truth in there, and you have to go on that journey. And, I never will tell anybody exactly how to think. I can tell them, like what I've heard or what I've experienced or the people that I've talked to, what the majority will say, but I can't, I will never make up those decisions for somebody else. This is a journey that you go on, and every step of the way it is, like Benno said before, which is brilliant. Benno is brilliant. It is subjective. It really is. We're not objective in this. It is it's an entirely subjective experience, like, from its person, in their perspective. But there are things, that, you kind of get warned upon along the way. Like nothing, we shouldn't just follow a Pied Piper, I don't think, anyway. And right, just here we go, right off the cliff. Like we definitely need to use discernment and stop and pause and think about some of this stuff, and what direction it's going in. Because there's a lot of trickery when it comes to the paranormal. There really is. There is a lot. And I did not like that. And I remember my aunt first because I grew up seeing spirits, and she's like, how do you know they're telling the truth? And then you start to get more information on it. And you're like, you can't so much as just assume, you got to go through and do your little checks and balances on things and stuff like that. And your clearings and, I guess, different tips that people have, like keep asking questions, see if they, make sense. The answers are coming back in accordance. I guess, Miya, what would be some of the techniques that you would hand that you think, keep you safe in this too? Because you're really put your energy out there, and they can suck on it just like vampires.
Oh, yeah. And I think sometimes they do. And sometimes I don't know whether it's an attachment I picked up at the grocery store, or possibly being, some kind of being that I'm trying to interact with outside. I don't know. I just try to, like I've said before, I try to keep my space around me as clean as possible, because that does help my body, my physical body, clean as possible. My vessel, the inside of me, I try to, have as clean of a diet as possible. Although I'm not perfect, I am human, and part of being human is also enjoying things like sugar and whatnot. It's not. It's like, why are we here? We're here in the trenches. friends. We gotta do stuff that feels good and tastes good too sometimes, you know.
I've got a whole box of miniature drumsticks in my I just got yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, so just
I'm
keep,
not like I'm
yeah,
the worst for that.
yeah, I had to cut it out of my diet because I was having too much of it. But man, you know, some of it's just good. So, but yeah, just keeping your mind clean. Be careful what you're watching. You know, because the more we think of scary and negative things, it really does draw it to us. So, just kind of your area clean, yourself clean, your spirit clean, your body as clean as possible, and give yourself a lot of grace too, because the more you pick on yourself, the more that whatever spirits are going to sense that and help you pick on yourself also. So that would be my advice for now. But you know,
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. No, that's those are all great things. And two, don't be so hard on yourself. Maya said, "We're only human. This is a human experience." And some
mhm.
of it does like I try and eat good. I try and eat well, but I'm as guilty as the rest. And you got it does taste good from time to
Yeah.
time, but yes, definitely. I wanted to go through too and thank everybody for the super chat tonight before I get too far here. Blazer, if you're still in I know you guys kind of had to go to bed, some of you, but thank you so much for all you do. And thank you for the super chat. Moon at Noon, thank you so much. It's always appreciated. Bigfoot Michigan Robbie MR, thank you. It's greatly appreciated. Gary, thank you so much. It was greatly appreciated. And Benno from Oz, thank you so much. It's your support, and you have no idea. It is all greatly appreciated. And because you were able to do what we do and get the word out there. And two, if you haven't, go to Maya's channel and definitely subscribe. Go to Rob's channel, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Go over to Richie and Wojo and Sam Paranormal. I think that they're all over on Banter. Could someone drop? It's I don't know if Wojo or Richie or Sam are still in there. Can you even let me know if you're still in the on the same? I think they're on Richie's network. But that's a great you guys to check out, and it's under my. If you look under SNX, you'll see that I have that under endorsed channels, but. Definitely, they're great. I saw you over in their chat the other day, Maya. Aren't they funny?
Yeah, they are.
I know. I'm like, there's just like classic moments. I love that kind of stuff.
And
So
then some of them came over here. It was like, oh, extended families coming over here now. Yeah, that was cool.
I know. Hey, Hillbilly Herb. It's so cool. It is so cool to have that kind of. And I said, you want people to go to good, and it's fun when you bump into them in other channels. So I really, like I said, I'm a total team player when it comes to this. Like great channels, like I would love nothing more than to help. It helps strengthen our community. That together strengthens our voice. That together, it's like we're not going to automatically get floods of subscribers coming over. No, but we can, gather together and get the people together. And that way, we can really start to build this. So I encourage people, if you haven't shared this out to somebody, maybe you don't have to share it out to somebody you don't think would like, or, not a beginner maybe, but someone new, let's get everyone together and then we can strengthen each other's voice. And that way we do hold power in this disclosure. I think we should be taking the lead on, what happens to our future and how this is going. Because if the government does come out tomorrow and they give a speech and they're like, oh, yeah, they're real. Well, one or two things is going to happen. It's going to completely discredit all we've done because nobody's going to believe it at all anymore. Or, they're going to take control over the narrative. And it's not either one of these other than us standing up and really, standing together. It's not going to go in a good direction. Not in my perspective anyway, and not in my experience with this and this whole operation. But I guess in closing, what do you think, Maya?
Yeah, I agree. If the government does, they'll try to probably monetize it every time you see something, you get taxed or something. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, they got something in
Yeah,
their pockets, like
yeah, but yeah.
oh for
But I
sure.
do agree that everybody, yeah, coming together, it will make us stronger. And even if we have different opinions or beliefs, we can still have a respectable debate or conversation even about it. Still walk away with our own beliefs, even if we want to or not, so.
Absolutely. I said, unless it's like bold-faced deception,
Right.
I'm not like, but I always think that it's so important to get all aspects of it. Even if you think, hey, I don't, I learned I think, if you look at it this way, I should know my strengths or my weaknesses better than I know my strengths at some points. It's like you need to know both sides of all of it. And like Benno said, there's always nuggets of truth. There's always nuggets of truth. So yeah. And in closing, Miya will be back next Monday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're doing Mystical Monday. I'm going to work more, and we're going to try and find, Miya adds like such a great addition to all this. So we'll find some spiritual things and topics and ideas. So if you have any that you'd like us to cover, please jot us down and, get a hold of Miya or I. And Miya, again, tell them where they can find you and what you got going on this week.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Miya StarFire, or get a hold of me on Facebook at Miya StarFire also. Me and Jay Skyrunner will be doing healings and readings live on Thursday nights on his channel and my channel. And I'll be here on Mondays, and that's what's going on for now.
Awesome. Yes. And I will be over at MK Invasion tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time for Forever Entertainment. Rob has his show going at the same time at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So definitely jump around. I know Richie B, I believe he's got a show that starts at 7. And I don't know if Wojo, if you guys are in the chat, Wojo Boom. I love when he does a boom. I'm like, you cannot but love Richie B and Wojo. I mean, they're great. Definitely get over there and, jump around from chat to chat. I always think that's a lot of fun to do, but show your support. And so, yeah, I guess that's all I have. So tomorrow and then Wednesday, if you guys are familiar with Patrick Cross, he did. He had the haunted guitar. He's one of my favorite with all of that, and grew up in the Poltergeist house. So he'll be on Wednesday, and always looking forward to it. And yeah, so everybody enjoy your night. I hope your weekends have been great and safe. Miya, thank you so much for coming on and all you do. And it's great to have you here on Monday night. So we can't be more excited about everything. On that note, yeah, we're out of here. We are out of here. I got the wrong thing, so I have to just have to extend this just for a second more because I have to link this out. And yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there, and we are going now. Hopefully, no, not yet. Hey, come on.
Unraveling the mystery, secrets in the night. We travel through the cosmos, ready for the flight. Together we'll shine, casting shadows aside, in the heart of the rhythm where our dreams collide.
Join the Star Nation, next quest, the truth is our guide. In the vast expanse, it's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the groove surround us, everything's alright.
From the Star Nation, next quest, the truth is our guide. In the vast expanse, it's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the groove surround us, everything's alright. SNX radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bringing shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spots. Heavy bass drops with tight beats.
Illuminate the shadows, the echo of our call.
On this roller ring will never fall.
Feel the energy rising, can you sense the spark? As we dive deeper into the cosmic arc.
Stories of the universe, mysteries unfold. In the heart of SNX, where the truth is gold. Every note we play, every line we write, crafting our legacy, shining ever bright.
SNX radio,
frequency, let's explore the spot. Here in the spotlight, we're taking our turn. With the fire in our hearts, let the passion burn. SNX radio's call, ringing through the air. Together we rise, together we dare.
So join us now, let the rhythm flow. With SNX radio, we're ready to go. Unraveling the mystery side by side, we stand hand in hand.